Welcome to Salon Conversation. I'm Lisa Conway and I'll be your host. For many people, the salon is a space where they take time out for themselves. They chat with their stylist or therapist about anything and everything, and most importantly, they leave feeling refreshed and beautiful. In this episode, I'm going to read a chapter from my first book, The Naked Salon, which is a hilarious take on running a small business, and in my case, a salon business. But many people have told me that it applies to all small business. The things that I heard standing behind that chair for almost 30 years, I could have sunk that town, you know. So sit back, relax and enjoy, and I promise you it will not be boring. So we are up to chapter 16. You might be listening to me only on voice, or you might be watching, and if you're watching, I have the Naked Salon in front of me. It's interesting, you know, I look at that photo of me with the red curly bob type hair sitting on the chair and it makes me laugh. I just think I had no idea when I wrote this book how many people would help. Like, it just fills my cup. It's just lovely. And there's so many messages that come through from people that are just grateful, people that I'll never meet. That say, yes, I learnt that in your book, Lisa, and they grin at me from across the hall and I think, oh, do I know that lady? And they feel that they know me because of my book. So if anybody's ever thinking about writing a book, write one, write a damn good one, because it's the gift that keeps on giving. I don't know how many years it is now. It's probably, I don't know, it'd have to be 10 more years since I wrote it. And it hasn't changed. The words are still as important as they were back then. So one of the things that I wanted to bring to your attention is that, you know, unhappy clients, bad clients, and common mistakes, they're all a part of running a business. And I don't think we can escape that. I really don't. I think that what we really need to do is we need to be really clear as what we're looking for. You know, like when I do a training with team members, when I ever go into a salon or I do it on Zoom, I really make a big effort to get them to understand why I'm there. Like, why does your boss want a business coach? Like, what's going on? And when I turn it around to them and say, well, what would make this the greatest place you've ever worked? And then they go, oh, okay. Now it's not about the boss, because sometimes I think, I don't even like the word boss, but sometimes it's about, we've got to perform, or she wants to make more money, or, you know, something like that. And I think, oh, it's so not about that. That's a byproduct of doing something you love. And I say to them, just think about a client that you love. And they go, oh, what about this one? And they start, you know, getting a bit more involved in the conversation. And then I say, what about such and such? And they go, oh, I love her. She's so good. And then I get my pen and I say, okay, tell me, why do you love this lady? And they say, oh, she's just happy, you know. And then the next one will say, oh, she's very stylish, you know, she's really interested in what we have to say, and she loves to have a change, and she's this and she's that, and she starts to name all the things, and they just light up. And I go, imagine if you had to do those clients all day, and they go, oh, that'd be so good. And then I ruin it all by I say, okay, who's some that we don't like? And then they straight away, they go, what about such and such? And then someone says, oh, she's not that bad. And what happens then is they think, oh, she's such a drainer, you know, and then they start like pecking at one another almost. And I go, all right, shut that down. I go, okay. So imagine if your day was filled with that particular client, and then they all go, oh, you can almost see the pain in their body going, oh my God, I wouldn't come to work. And I go, right, settle down. And then when I get the group back together, I go, so we have the ability to attract an A-grade client. And they go, yep. And I go, and we have the ability to allow or attract that particular client. And I go, so that's interesting, isn't it? The power's in your hands. And it's a really lovely exercise to do, because it gets them to understand, what are we doing here? Like, why did you have a salon in the first place? And that's why I called the book The Naked Salon. Like, if you sit there in your chair without any fancy pot plants or wallpaper or scissors or anything, and you just sit where your client sits and you think to yourself, what do we offer here? Like, what is our offering? Because that's what you got to think about, what does the client walk away with? And that's why I called it the Naked Salon, if you're wondering. And once you do that, it's just a really powerful exercise to help someone to understand what their say is or what their part is, And once you understand, you think, yeah, that's true. That lady is always late. And I just keep going, oh, never mind, come in. And then she runs your whole day late because you don't say something to her. And then you have other clients who, they just love you and they drop off a coffee or they bring you something from home or they lend you something or they're just beautiful. And you think, wow, I just love that lady. And this is how we spend our day, isn't it? This is how we spend our day. So when we understand that and we realize that there is going to be some clients who don't like us, and that's okay. Some clients are unhappy, and I don't think you'll ever please them. And it doesn't mean that the next salon down the road will please them. But you can't bend yourself into a pretzel to please everybody. I've experienced that firsthand. You've got to find what lights you up, find what brings you joy, look at the clients that you know and you love and think, where did they come from, right? Because that's a really good place to start. And think about all the things that you love about a client. There's a couple of stories in there, and I talk about a particular lady who wasn't happy, and she said we cut a hole in her head. I don't know how we even could do that, and when she came in and I invited her in, she didn't want to come. She goes, no, I know you think that your business is wonderful, but it's not. I could imagine I was gutted. And I just thought, what do I do? Anyway, you can read the story and you can find out what I did. But it always reminded me that I don't always get it right. Neither do you. And sometimes you just got to take it and go, okay, yep. What would you like me to do about it? And they sort of shit, and I think, well, do you give the lady a refund? Do you ask her to come back again? Like, you don't always get it right, and that's okay. But when you're really honest and you have your clients and your team members' best interests at heart, you can't go wrong. You really can't. And I think this pretending world that let's pretend it's all good, does it exist? It just doesn't. I think all it does is cause you grief. And I think when you are open and honest and you put your hand up and you go, actually, I don't make enough money and I've got a bloody salon full of clients that I can't stand doing. Well, somebody let them in and it wasn't me. And the good news is once you admit that you've got some challenges and you want some help, like the rest is downhill. That's the hardest thing I have to do, is get you to believe that it can be better. And this industry struggle and I do 1,000,000 hours and don't get paid much is just rubbish. You don't have to do that. And I never did it, so you don't. But you do have to look at yourself and you look at your behaviours and think, what do I allow here and what won't I tolerate? And life will change, and I'd love to be part of that. So read the chapter and enjoy it, and just think about your clients coming in with an A, a B, a C or a D stuck on their head. And you can do better. If you believe you can, you will. So let's listen to the episode. Bye for now. Chapter 16. Unhappy clients, bad clients, and common mistakes. We all lose clients. Some move too far away, and there's a limit to how far people will drive for even the best hair or beauty treatment. Some clients die just to avoid coming back to your salon. I think that's a bit extreme, but what can you do? What I don't understand is when a salon owner doesn't know these numbers on a week-to-week basis. Exactly who hasn't returned and why. This is essential knowledge. You can even call them up and ask, especially if they've been coming in for a while. You also need to track which members of your team are retaining clients and which aren't. This might be awkward, but it's essential information if you're going to increase the number of clients you retain. It's one of the biggest factors in your profitability, and a high retention rate will definitely help you to sleep at night. I see a lot of salon owners who are trying to build their businesses, so they start to spend less time working on the floor, and they move some of their clients over to another team member. This happens all the time, and it's actually a good thing in many ways. But you need to measure if your client is happy with the change. Does the new operator retain the client? In one salon, the owner took time off when she had a baby, and although the clients came in to see the replacement therapist once, most of them weren't coming back for seconds. The girl who took over her clients was not like her at all. Blind Freddie could see that it just wasn't going to work. But the owner had no way of knowing what was happening until the clients had well and truly moved on. Most clients leave in absolute silence. If you're really lucky, your client will ring and tell you about her bad experience. I love that, but some people find it really hard to cope with. As far as I'm concerned, it shows that they see you are serious about the service you provide, and it even gives you a chance to get them back. If they don't say anything, you don't get a second chance. So unless they are a D-grade client, more about that in a minute, use this as an opportunity to change the outcome. So, how do you track your retention rate? Your salon software will help you with this, but it's your job to use it to keep an eye on the number. You can't just wait for complaints because most clients won't complain. They just leave quietly. I work on 16 weeks between visits. Others prefer 12. If you haven't seen a client in this period, then you should activate your lost customer program. I strongly recommend that you have a clear system in place to make contact with these clients. You can do a lot of things here. You can send an SMS, you can send a letter by post, even make a phone call. It could be a simple reminder or a special offer. The best solution depends on your client base and the particular client who isn't returning. Sending an SMS to Nana is a bit silly. The main thing is that you get in touch with them. You don't even have to wait until they haven't shown up for a while. You can make it part of your service, especially if they are regular. It shows that you notice them and that you don't take them for granted. Luxury car dealers like BMW do this every time, just to make sure that you are happy. My dentist even called me once. It was a few hours after he'd done a root canal. I couldn't really talk to him, but I think it showed that he cared. My wallet was empty, but it was a nice touch just the same. Keeping your clients happy is the ideal state, but winning back a dissatisfied customer sometimes feels like an even greater achievement. And you have to start by understanding that when a client does complain, it's really a compliment. They only say something if they think that you will be interested in their opinion. So one day I received a call from a client named Judy, who had been in my salon just once. Judy had had her hair done, and she was so disappointed that she rang me on my mobile, because all new clients received a client letter in the mail a few days after the visit. Yes, snail mail. That's how I like to do it, because nobody does it. This snail mail, which included my personal mobile number in case they weren't happy. I didn't get many of these unhappy phone calls, but I wanted to hear if someone wasn't pleased. The follow-up letter had said something like this. Thank you for choosing us. We are grateful for the opportunity to serve you. If you weren't happy with the service you received in any way, then I'd really like to know why. So please call my mobile on XXXXXX, whatever the number was. Judy was not happy, so she called me to tell me about it, and I was grateful. I let her tell me about her horrible experience in my salon and how there were holes cut in her hair. Don't you love that expression? I don't think I could cut a hole in a person's hair if I tried, but funnily enough, I've heard that one more than once. Anywho, I let her talk until she ran out of words, and then I asked her who the hairdresser was and got the shock of my life when she said it was Claire, my manager. This didn't sound right to me, but Judy was furious, and she said the only reason she had bothered to call me was because My salon looked lovely, and my after-service letter suggested that I was serious about the service I delivered. She was a business owner too, and felt that I would be grateful for the feedback. I offered to look at her hair and do whatever it took to make it right. Judy declined, as she was still too angry. I could almost see the steam coming out of her ears. So I just said, look, the offer stands if you change your mind. Please call me when your next haircut is due. And we left it at that. I put the phone down, feeling sick. I was cutting back my floor hours, and my thoughts were racing along the lines of, what the hell is going on when I'm not watching? I sent Judy a $30 bunch of flowers that simply said, sorry, we let you down. And I didn't even get a thank you. Then I sat down with Claire and I asked her to tell me what happened. Claire was my salon leader. She was awesome, and she took her job really seriously. The clients were very important to her, and she was so passionate about getting things right. She used to make you uncross your legs while she was cutting your hair. I couldn't care less. So on some things we agreed to disagree. Claire was devastated there had been a complaint. She even cried, which was really not like Claire. Like me, Claire rarely showed that she was actually human. Judy had hair so straight it sat upright on her head, a bit like a baby's first head of hair. She had a home hair colour and a lovely shade of khaki level 8. Oh, you can just imagine it, girls and boys. Just a very ordinary plain Jane hairdo. That was okay, except that Judy came with a picture of Halle Berry. If you don't know who Halle Berry is, you really need to Google it. She is one of the most beautiful actresses alive. She has one African American parent and one white American parent. Judy must have asked one too many questions, and Claire wasn't wearing her patient shoes that day. Plus, the home colouring would have sent her over the snitchy side. Oh, it's funny now. Wasn't then, I can tell you. So there was nothing to do but wait and hope she'd give us another chance. One day, out of the blue, Judy rang and said that if the offer was still available, she would like to try my salon again. I thought, whoa, you beauty! Game on. I knew if I looked after her myself, she would be a happy client. However, I needed to believe in my team too. So I went for the big stretch and decided not to do the haircut myself. Judy came in and I met her and thought, Halle Berry, hey? But I just introduced her to Stacey, my third year, who was ready to do whatever it took. Stacey did a little trim, talked about adding some foils. I think she said, highlighting the existing blonde. It was khaki, but Stacey always made people feel good. Love your work here, Stace. And Judy left paying for the foils only. Some months later, I popped into the salon and Judy was there in the waiting area. She was waiting to see Stacey. So I sat beside her and we chatted about the weather, blah, blah, blah. Then she put her hand on my knee, looked me in the eye and thanked me very much for listening to her. She said, I was right. You do care about your clients. Damn right I do. But there's another side to this. We can waste a lot of time and effort and energy trying to please D-grade clients. Some people can never be pleased, and you would be better off if they went somewhere else. They make us feel undervalued, and we rarely get any satisfaction from looking after them. Since most of us want to please people, we see these clients as a challenge, and for some strange reason, we expect to be able to please everybody. You are much better off giving them their money back and getting them out of your salon once and for all. I only ever asked 4 women to not return in 30 years, but I was glad to see the back of each and every one of those. This is the way I see clients. They come with letters in front of them, A, B, C, or if you're unlucky enough, D. Once you learn this, it really sets you on a path with a challenge to upgrade every client to the next level. An A-grade client is pretty easy to spot. They love you and your work. They are always on time, they pay their account on the day, they never whinge, and they tell you that they couldn't live without you. They also insist on booking their next appointment and everything else in the diary that works around you. They recommend you to their friends, they purchase products from you too. They follow your instructions about looking after their hair and beauty needs in between visits. They are the reason we do the work we do, right? A B-grade client does most of these things, but not all of them. Maybe they never rebook on the day. Your C-grade clients are missing 2 or 3 of these qualities. Maybe they don't rebook, and maybe they never buy retail, or they occasionally show up a few minutes late. Now, the D-grade ones, well, let's just say they are trouble. And to be honest, they're really not worth the effort. They are ones we spend most of our time complaining about when we really just need to move on. I've always said D stands for don't do, drainer, or donut, more whole than substance. My eldest sister explained the donut theory to me years ago. I was complaining about one of my sister-in-laws. I have 5, so the chances of one being annoying are pretty high. I wanted to gather the whole family together, and I was spending a lot of time on the project and feeling underappreciated. My sister took me aside and said, "Our family is like a donut." I said, "Huh? You're a donut? What on earth are you talking about?" You are focusing on the thing that they aren't, the bit that is missing. Okay, she said. If someone gave you a donut, would you say, "Hey, where's the bit in the middle?" No, you would just see it for what it is and say, "Thank you," and pop the kettle on. True? So the D-grade client is the one that we go on about. They can actually ruin a great day's work if we keep going over our time with them in our head. Just accept that we are going to come across people that we just can't please. So just move on. You need to just see it for what it is. D-grade is not your focus. Just work hard on upgrading your B and your C clients. Can you really upgrade your clients? Yes, you can. Let me share a story with you. We had a regular client who often rang on the day. He wanted an appointment and slotted in with anyone who had the time. His name was Morris, and he always stood at the front desk while he waited. The girls would greet him. He'd tell them he was there for his haircut, and he would stand at the desk and wait. It drove the girls mad. They didn't like the fact that he wouldn't take a seat. Really? I couldn't care less. If you were concentrating on your client, you wouldn't have noticed, was my thinking. Anyway, Morris never took a seat. He always stood and watched while he waited. He was in his early 50s, and to a bunch of girls barely 20, he was an old codger. This day, Morris landed in my chair. We got chatting about his hair, and he mentioned he had a family wedding coming up. So he wanted to look a bit smart, he said. He was going out to buy a new suit straight after the haircut. I suggested that if he liked, I could do this great little trick that just coloured the very tips of your hair. That way it would look really sun-kissed, not coloured, and everyone would just think that he'd been on a holiday in the sun. Morris liked the sound of that. "Why not?" he said. He was a real character. And I got on with creating this new look. I think a haircut back then, we're going back a long time, remember? I think a haircut back then was $35. The colour on the tips now was another $35. Now, because he was a smidge blonde and was going away, I talked him into getting a shampoo and conditioner that had a slight purple tinge to keep the blonde perfect. Morris had never used conditioner before, and so after talking to him about what he needed, he left with a colour, a haircut and some product. He did think he was a bit fancy. He thanked me more than once for the effort I had gone to. "Just doing my job," I said, "but thanks for noticing." Usually a $35 client, Morris was now $70. He now uses my shampoo and conditioner. As I was putting the payment through, he thanked me for making him look like a rock star. His words, not mine. And I said, "So when will I see you again?" Morris said, "What days do you work?" As he wanted me from now on. It didn't help me get off the floor, did it? I said, "Well, you need to book if you want to get me." He explained that he doesn't book because he travels overseas regularly and he would find it hard to keep his appointment. So I said, "Why don't you make the booking now and I will SMS you 2 days ahead to see if the booking still works for you. If you don't need that appointment, we can always give it to someone else. How does that sound?" "It's a deal," said Morris. It was really that easy. The girls are more concerned about his annoying habit of standing at the counter and not about how they could best look after his needs. This happened all the time and it drove me mad. We miss opportunities all day, every day. We need to be asking others, how can I best serve this person and their hair or beauty needs? To sum up, upgrade your clients and track the retention rates. Think about what letter the client already is. Then challenge yourself to raise the standard just one level. So your B's become A's, your C's become B's. If you have a clear picture of what an A-grade client looks like, then you can grade every client and set yourself a challenge of just adding one more characteristic each time they come in. It becomes a game you play with yourself. Remember Morris? And do this for every client in your chair. In most cases, if you bother to explain why it is you want to do this to their hair and paint the big picture, sell the sizzle, not the sausage, people will love the fact that you have thought about what would look best. And in minutes you have a plan. Everybody loves a plan. It's that easy, guys. The other really key characteristic is a successful salon is that you track the retention rates very, very carefully. You won't believe what a difference to your profitability just upgrading your clients and finding out why people leave will make. I hope you enjoyed that and had a laugh or two. If you would like a copy of my physical book, there is a link in the show notes. I've also included the action points from the end of the chapters so that you can get started on your journey immediately. I would love it if you would like and share my podcast so that we can continue to grow together.